It's my honor and privilege to invite the chairman of the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee with his alternate chair, His Excellency Issam Al-Marzouk of the State of Kuwait, as well as His Excellency Alexander Novak of the Russian Federation, to declare open the 6th meeting of the JMMC. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the OPEC Secretariat for the 6th meeting of the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee, JMMC. We are nearing the one-year anniversary of the implementation of the historic Declaration of Cooperation, which saw 24 participating OPEC and non-OPEC producing nations come together to help restore order and predictability to the global oil market after one of the worst price declines in the history of oil. The historic and courageous display of cooperation was the result of tireless consultations, high levels of commitment, and a great deal of compromise and flexibility. The process has also required a great deal of patience and perseverance, considering the magnitude and complexity of re-establishing balance to the global oil market. Here, allow me to express my deep appreciation to each and every OPEC member country and participating non-OPEC producers who made great sacrifices, worked the extra hours, and went the extra mile to help us get to where we are today. With your continued dedication and determination, I'm confident we will reach the mountaintop together. I would also like to recognize my esteemed alternate chair on this committee, His Excellency Alexander Novak, Minister of Energy of the Russian Federation, as well as the President of the conference, His Excellency Dr. Khalid Al-Faleh, and the OPEC Secretary General Mohammed Parkindo. Their leadership and expert input at every juncture and milestone of this historic process have been instrumental to the ongoing success of the Declaration of Cooperation. Another key ingredient to the progress made thus far has been the high-quality input we received every month from the Joint Technical Committee, JTC, in coordination with the OPEC Secretariat. I know we can count on you to continue operating in the highly professional manner we have come to appreciate and value over the past year. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, since our last meeting in September, the oil market has continued to strengthen and is evidently on the path to rebalancing. The destocking process, both onshore and offshore, has continued at an accelerated pace in recent months. From May to October, the OECD stock overhang fell by around 140 million barrels to stand at 140 million barrels above the 5-year average in October. Looking at the first 10 months of the Declaration of Cooperation, there has been a decline of around 200 million barrels. Additionally, crude and floating storage has come down by an estimated 50 million barrels since June, with the help of a narrowing contango, and then Brent, WTI, and Dubai flipping into backwardation for the first time since 2014. As far as demand goes, we have seen global oil demand growth strengthening. In December 2016, monthly oil market report, we saw global oil demand growth for 2017 at a level of 1.15 million barrels per day. This has been revised up considerably to now stand at 1.5 million barrels per day. For 2018, this encouraging dynamic is set to continue with the same forecast of 1.5 million barrels per day. Looking at the global economy, the forecast is bullish, as the recovery has picked up steam this year. We are currently forecasting growth this year of 3.7%, supported by positive momentum and a possible tax reform in the US, improving global trade, continued positive outlooks for the Eurozone, and to some extent, Japan, as well as robust growth in China and India. Improved outlooks for Russia and Brazil are also contributing factors. In 2018, this positive trend is expected to continue with a further robust growth forecast of 3.7%. This positive outlook has clearly been supported by the unprecedented conformity levels to the production adjustments in the Declaration of Cooperation. These consistently high levels at or above 100% have quieted the voices in the industry who initially expressed doubts regarding the commitment of the 24 participating OPEC and non-OPEC producing countries to bring stability back to the oil market. Ladies and gentlemen, let us not take this positive momentum as a reason to sit back and relax. Rather, let us be energized by the progress we have made and continue to push onward until we reach our final goal. We are clearly on the right path, but there's still work to be done to bring the remaining inventories down to the latest 5-year average, at which point we can say we have reached our objectives of a balanced and stable global oil market. Thus, today we will take stock of the recent oil market developments, assess conformity levels, both individually and collectively, and establish what more can be done in the months ahead to improve these levels in order to reach our common goal. Here, I think it is pertinent to underline the fact that some participating producing countries continue to overperform, and I think it is appropriate to recognize their extraordinary efforts. This is also a reminder of how important it is for each country to reach its own conformity goals. Each delegation should be driven to achieve full and timely conformity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, reflecting back on the first year of implementation, the Declaration of Cooperation has established the requisite structure and foundation for the sustainable stability we all seek. It will be essential going forward that this platform be solidified, institutionalized, and expanded. Let us not forget that our every move is being scrutinized by the international community. It is thus crucial that we maintain a laser focus on our goal of achieving rebalanced global oil market. This will boost urgently needed industry investment and fuel further economic growth and prosperity around the world. Thank you for your attention. I give the floor to Mr. Alexander Novak for his opening remarks.
Спасибо большое, уважаемый господин председатель, министр Аль-Марзук, господин председатель конференции ОПЕК, министр Саудовской Аравии Аль-Фалих, господин генеральный секретарь Баркинда, уважаемые господа министры, коллеги. С большим удовольствием хотел бы всех поприветствовать сегодня на 6-м заседании Министерского мониторингового комитета стран ОПЕК и не входящих в ОПЕК государств. И в первую очередь выразить признательность секретариату ОПЕК за традиционно теплый прием и прекрасную организацию мероприятия.
Mr. President of the Conference, Your Excellency Mr. Al-Faleh, Your Excellency Secretary General Mr. Barkindo, Excellencies Ministers and my colleagues, with great pleasure would I like to welcome everybody gathered here in this room at the 6th meeting of the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee of OPEC and non-OPEC countries. And I would also like to say a special thank you to the OPEC Secretariat for the traditionally warm welcome and excellent organization of the event.
Я рад начать свое выступление с констатацией того, что венские договоренности по-прежнему успешно реализовываются, продолжают оказывать положительное воздействие на рынок.
I would like to start my speech by saying that the Vienna agreements are extremely successful. They're being successfully realized, and they're continuing to have a serious and significant impact on the market.
Запуск и успешная реализация процесса ребалансировки стали возможными благодаря нашим совместным усилиям. Ответственный подход стран-участниц венских договоренностей, многие из которых не только демонстрируют высокие показатели, но и выходят далеко за рамки взятых на себя обязательств, позволяет удерживать исполнение на рекордно высоком уровне.
The launch and successful realization of the process of the oil market rebalancing has become possible thanks to the joint effort of our countries. The responsible approach by the participating countries of the Vienna agreements, many of which are not only showing very high metrics, but are also going beyond what they have voluntarily bestowed upon themselves. This is allowing us to maintain extremely high conformity levels.
Сегодня нам важно подвести промежуточные итоги совместной деятельности и выработать стратегию, которой мы будем придерживаться, начиная с апреля 2018 года.
Today we have a good chance to sit back and look at the intermediate results of our joint activity and discuss and deliberate on the strategy which we're going to follow starting from April 2018.
Текущая ситуация на рынке характеризуется выходом на благоприятные фундаментальные показатели.
The current market trends are being characterized by fundamentally strong metrics which we're seeing.
Продолжает снижаться объем коммерческих запасов нефти, как в общемировом исчислении, так и в основных регионах. Видим, что улучшаются фундаментальные макроэкономические показатели. Организация ОПЕК вот уже который месяц подряд улучшает прогноз по глобальному росту мировой экономики, который в текущем году планируется на уровне 3,7%.
We're continuing to observe draws in commercial inventories, both in all OECD countries and on a global level and in the key regions of operations. We're also seeing fundamentally better macroeconomic indicators. I would like to focus on the fact that OPEC, a few months already, every month is revising upwards its global economic growth estimates, and this year we're expecting growth to reach 3.7%.
Разумеется, это находит отражение и в динамике спроса. Прогноз по спросу уже не раз пересматривался в большую сторону и обнадеживает хороший показатель по росту спроса в 2018 году.
Of course, this is feeding through to our demand growth estimates, and we have already seen numerous upward revisions this year of demand projections for 2016. We're also quite hopeful, and we see good dynamics leading us to have a strong forecast for demand growth in 2018.
Уважаемые коллеги, наши усилия являются решающим фактором в обеспечении восстановления здорового баланса спроса и предложения на рынке нефти, поддержании инвестиционной привлекательности отрасли в долгосрочной перспективе, восстановления стабильности рынка и противодействия усилиям спекулянтов.
Dear colleagues, I strongly believe that our efforts are the determining factor in ensuring the recovery of healthy supply and demand balance on the oil market, in supporting the investment activity in our industry in the long term, and returning stability to the market, as well as minimizing the activity of speculators.
Позвольте выразить признательность всем странам ОПЕК и не входящим в ОПЕК за приверженность достигнутым договоренностям. Мы нацелены на серьезную плодотворную работу в рамках наших усилий во имя этой значимой цели.
Please allow me to thank all OPEC and non-OPEC countries participating in our joint effort in the determined approach they have shown here in allowing this to become a reality. We're all aiming to continue this fruitful work in the name of achieving our goal.
В рамках сегодняшней встречи нам важно сегодня подвести итоги исполнения соглашения за 10 месяцев, прошедших с начала его действия, обсудить текущую ситуацию на рынках и прийти к решению, которое позволит нам достичь полной ребалансировки на рынке.
Today I hope that we will be able to discuss the results of the 10 months of joint cooperation, to discuss the current market situation and come to a conclusion which would allow us to reach full rebalancing of the market in the foreseeable future.
Желаю всем плодотворной и конструктивной работы. Спасибо.
And I wish everybody constructive and fruitful day to day.
Thank you. you, Your Excellency. I give the floor now to His Excellency Dr. Khalid Al-Faleh to address the committee, please.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I would like first to recognize the dedication, hard work and leadership provided to the Joint Monitoring Committee by His Excellency Assam Al-Marzouk, Minister of Oil and Electricity of Kuwait, and His Excellency Alexander Novak, Minister of Energy of the Russian Federation. This committee, as we all know, has been central to assessing the impact of our efforts to rebalance and stabilize the oil market and ascertaining the necessity and extent of future action each time they met the previous 5 times. It has now been nearly a year since we reached the production agreement, and the results have been indeed very gratifying. The compliance results speak for themselves, and it would not have been possible to achieve those results without the strong leadership and guidance provided by all members of the JMMC, and particularly by the 2 co-chairs. We have reached, as mentioned by Mr. Al-Marzouk, an average compliance of 102% over the first 9 months. And in September, that figure reached an impressive 120%. This level of engagement and commitment has had a positive effect on market confidence and stability. Leading indicators show that the destocking process is indeed well underway, as all regions of the world have seen a drawdown that has accelerated during the 3rd quarter of 2017. For the first time in the course of this cycle, OECD storage levels have fallen to 140 million barrels above the rolling 5-year industry average from a record 330 million barrels of overstocks last year. For this gratifying result, I want to express once again my appreciation to the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee and the Joint Technical Committee that has been supporting them, as well as to the OPEC Secretariat being led by His Excellency Mohammed Sanusi Barkando. Let me take a moment to talk in retrospect about the importance of the committee and its work. As important as it is to reach agreements, it is equally critical to turn them into action and maximize their impact on the global oil market. In the absence of actual results, the agreements would in fact generate negative returns, as they would adversely impact our reputation as producing countries. So it is essential that we put the right mechanisms in place to maximize the impact of the agreements. Therefore, I am glad that we decided early on to set up the correct organizational structure, including the JMMC and the Joint Technical Committee, whose hard work has helped guide our respective countries and oil ministries in their complex decision-making over the past 11 months. We have achieved, as I mentioned already, solid results to date, which would not have been possible without each organization in this structure effectively discharging its duties. But today, as the market recognizes the rebalancing process that has been underway, we cannot afford to be complacent. In order to continue meeting our shared goals, a good deal more hard work and commitment is essential. In terms of the process, the committee's analysis today, outlook for the next few quarters, and recommendations coming out of this analysis will be used as a basis for deliberations among the wider group of ministers that will be meeting tomorrow, who will then make critical decisions affecting our nations and our economies, affecting the wider oil industry, and in fact, the entire global economy. They are relying on us, on the committee as a whole, for accurate information, insightful analysis, and sound guidance. So in conclusion, I would like to stress that in the coming months, our work will continue. The job is not done. We will need the full commitment of all countries. While I want to congratulate and thank the overperforming members for their dedications, and we have a few countries that have consistently over-delivered on their commitment, I also want to take the opportunity to urge those few underperforming countries to catch up. To succeed in the future, it is critical that we have everyone on board. And in our shared mutual interest, I am confident that I can count on the committee's support. Thank you very much.
Last but not least, Excellency Mr. Mohammed Barkindo, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of my colleagues in the Secretariat, it gives us great pleasure and indeed honor once again to welcome you back to your second home, Vienna, and to the OPEC Secretariat for this landmark meeting of the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee. It gives me additional pleasure to welcome our esteemed President of the conference, His Excellency Khalid Al-Fali of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, who has made it a point of duty, despite his heavy schedules, to always try to be with us at the JMMC, as well as the two co-chairs of this strategic committee, His Excellency Issam Al-Marzouk of the State of Kuwait, and His Excellency Alexander Novak of the Russian Federation. I think we have listened to words of wisdom from the three distinguished leaders of this industry in their own right, and it only leaves me to say welcome to all delegations, welcome to all ministers, and to our friends in the media, and we look forward to a very successful meeting of the JMMC, as well as the conference tomorrow, and celebrate this important anniversary of our Declaration of Cooperation, thanks to your vision, your wisdom, and your steadfastness that brought together, for the first time in history, 24 producing countries to come to this hall last year by now and strike this historic decision. So I say mabruk to you in advance and welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency.